It's very rare where you just have a race-winning car that is that much better than the field, and to be able to actually capitalize on that and go and win the race. There was definitely a brief moment there where I was like, man, you're gonna lose this race, but just had to dig deep.
Well, Chase, congratulations on winning another race at Darlington. That looked like a pretty flawless night.
Yeah, it was fun. I've obviously been a fan, right? And I've seen the 19 car kind of go and just dominate these races. I've seen the 4 car do it as well. So it was fun to be on the other side of it, where I was the one behind the wheel. And I mean, like I said, I've seen you do those types of races where you go out and just dominate, right? And as a driver, I mean, that's what you dream about, is a car like that. And it's just nice to be able to capitalize on it. Whenever you get a car like that, it's very rare where you just have a race-winning car that is that much better than the field, and to be able to actually capitalize on that and go and win the race and just execute all night long. There's a lot to be proud of when it comes to that. So yeah, it was a great night, great way to obviously start the playoffs for us, and pretty cool to, anytime you can just even race at Darlington, it's cool, but let alone win there and to do it in the Southern 500, it's pretty special.
What were those last 20 laps like? It looked like your car started to get loose maybe, It looked like Tyler had finally said, screw it, I'm going to put this thing right next to the fence and see what happens here. But that had to be pretty intense with that 45 right in your mirror right there, knowing that if you made one slip, it was going to be trouble.
It was for sure, concern for me when that final caution came out. It was going to be a 48 lap run, I think, to the end. And my car was, I mean, unbelievable for 25 laps. But from lap 35 on, that was kind of the struggle spot for me. But I normally could build a big enough gap that it would kind of even itself out. And I just remember I started getting pretty loose. And I honestly didn't drive away from Tyler as much as I was needing to. I think I only got to like a 1.7 second lead, where the other runs I was able to build over 3 seconds. And yeah, I remember I was getting loose, and the lap times I was only like a tenth better than him, and even evening out at times. And I looked over at the big screen down the front straightaway, and it was 30 to go. And I was like, man, I'm in trouble here. And he got there around lap, I think, 20 to go, like you were saying, and he was running way higher into one than what I was. And I hadn't really been able to do that all night. And I was just so loose. There was definitely a brief moment there where I was like, man, you're gonna lose this race. But just had to dig deep, truthfully, and just, kind of just decide, hey, look, like if you spin this thing out, you spin it out. Because at that point, I felt like I'd had a pretty good points night already. But it's hard to go back to your team, I felt like, if you don't win with one of those cars. So you just better figure out a way to go win with it. And I able to hold Tyler off. Luckily for me, I was good enough in 3 and 4. I could normally get away enough for how bad I was in 1 and 2. You could never really get there, but yeah, another couple laps, it would have definitely been interesting.
So you've gone from fighting for your life your whole career, not knowing what you're doing next, and now you're in a position where you can fight. I mean, you've always been really good at closing those races out, and now you're in a position to where the expectation is to win. Do you feel like that you go to the racetrack every week not expecting, with that expectation to win? And how long has that mentality and approach taken for you to change? Because it seems like you guys have settled in. You've turned good qualifying into top fives. You've turned it into wins now. How long has it taken you to switch that mindset into what's happening on a week-to-week basis now?
It's definitely switched. I would say it was probably a month and a half ago where like finally kind of just, there's just this moment where I don't know what determined it, but it just felt like everything went from, it was probably right around where we finished second, 3 weeks in a row. And I felt like I was, I still am auditioning, right? Like I'm replaceable at any point, but I definitely felt way more comfortable where I'm at in my career, and felt like, in the past, I've always felt like, I needed the team almost way more than they needed me. And I feel like I'm almost finally getting to that point in my career where I've proven myself enough and showed enough speed to where, I am valuable to the team now, and they need me just as much as I need them. So it definitely has been different, over the course of the last month and a half, I would say. And just even my demeanor going to the racetrack, you go from, just going there and trying to kind of prove that you belong to all of a sudden feeling like you have a legitimate shot to win the championship. And it's definitely been different, at least in my cup career. I've never felt that way. In Xfinity I did, but it's just so much different doing that at the cup level. And it's a great feeling, but it's been a lot of fun at the same time.
So I have a conversation that we had a long time ago. Well, it's not been a long time ago, but it seems like a long time ago. And it sticks out of my mind every time I watch you race or I hear James talk to you on the radio. And it was about Richard Boswell and why you wanted to switch your crew chief to Richard Boswell. And I vividly remember this. And it's because I need somebody to stay on my ass, yell at me when I need to be yelled at, push me to do things that I might not otherwise do. Well, buddy, you've got that all you've got that in intensity. What's that been like with James? Because I know that you have asked for that and like that. What's that been like? Has it been more than you want, or has it just? It seems like it's obviously been good, but it seems really intense.
Yeah, it's been good. It's definitely intense. I didn't think it got much more intense than Boswell, but boy was I wrong. Yeah,
Hmm.
James is just the super, to the point guy. Just very, short and blunt, truthfully, and it's definitely something. I mean, you know me, right? And I do need somebody that kind of pushes me. I'm very laid back and just nonchalant, kind of about everything in my life. And when it comes to the competition side, I think it's helped both of us, truthfully. Like, I'm so laid back and easygoing. I think it helps James kind of come down off some of that high emotion sometimes. And that's something that I think is important, at least for me. Like, those are just buttons that have always been what I needed. Like, and I think it's because my dad was that way with me. Like, he was never going to sugarcoat anything. He was going to tell me when I was doing stuff wrong. And, in a crew chief, I need that same thing. Like, I can't get better unless you tell me what I'm doing wrong. And James will certainly tell you what you're doing wrong.
That's for sure. And so it you never know how it's going to work with people, and you guys have obviously worked together. As you go into the next couple weeks, obviously you've won, you're going to the next round. What's the goal for the next 2 weeks, and what worries you? Is there a track ahead of you that you're like, all right, we got to make sure we're buttoned up here?
Um, I mean, I think for the next 2 weeks for us, it's just trying to get as many playoff points as we can. I mean, last night, yeah, I'm happy that we locked into the round of 12, but truthfully, I feel like as long as we just ran halfway decent, we were going to go to the round of 12 anyways. So I was way more excited about the 7 playoff points last night than anything. I mean, we only had 10 playoff points going into the playoffs, and now we have 17. I mean, that's a huge, huge delta now, especially
Mhm.
once you get into that round of 8. It at least makes it somewhat achievable to point your way in if you had to. So for us, that's the biggest thing I think these next 2 weeks is just trying to keep doing what we've been doing, try to win stages, obviously try to win the race. But yeah, I would say if there's any track that kind of worries me, I mean, obviously Talladega, right? But in the round of 12, I would say it's Loudon. It's just been a place that I've always felt very lost at, and just always been a huge struggle for me and trucks, Xfinity, everything. So that would be the one I would say I'm probably definitely going to put more effort into now that we're locked in already. I already told James last week, even like, hey, let's the next week or two start already working on Loudon, just because I feel like I need the work there. So yeah, I'm sure that we'll put a little more emphasis on that now.
Well, careful what you ask for there. You might have to do 1,000 laps in the simulator before you
Yeah,
get too far
we did we
along.
did we did 10 or 12 hours at Richmond because that was one of my worst tracks too. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be grinding the hours out in there at Loudon.
So what's last question? What's made Darlington so good for you? I mean, it's Xfinity cars, Cup cars. What do you think has made that place so good for you?
I think I mean, there's tracks, right, that fit your driving style. And that track just is very similar to what I grew up doing in non-wing sprint car racing, where the thing's got 900 horsepower, weighs 1,300 pounds. And, I grew up non-wing racing, so there is no downforce. You're just sliding all over the place. And, your grip level is so low all the time, and you're constantly searching the racetrack for, different grip. And you never do the same thing twice at Darlington. And it's certainly been a place that I mean, literally, I remember the first time I went there in Xfinity, I just kind of fell in love with the place and had speed from the get go. So, yeah, I think it just fits my driving style. I definitely, out of all the tracks we go to, it seems like the slick, wore out ones are typically the best ones for me. Between Homestead and Darlington, but Darlington in my career has definitely been the best track. And yeah, I think it just relates so much to non-wing sprint car racing, just where you're always sliding around and searching for grip. And yeah, I've just always felt comfortable doing that for whatever reason.
Well, it's been fun to watch. I love the fact that you guys have progressed into consistent winners and top five runners, and you've earned it. We'll be looking forward to the rest of your playoff run, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.